Superman and Lois is back once again for another fantastic episode of the series, and especially when you look at it in comparison to some of the other Arrowverse shows, and you just see the difference in quality, and I was like, wow, this is made by the same network, and yeah, it is, but it's kind of sad when you see how good this show is, and then how not so good some of the other Arrowverse shows are. But again, this show is just so good. Like the pacing, the story elements, the characters, everything about it is so good. Plus, you never get too comfortable. Once you start thinking something, there's always this huge twist. There's always so many huge twists every single episode. And then all of a sudden something else is going on. And it really just is crazy. And I absolutely love it. It really is so good. And really wish we didn't have to go through that 2-month break, but I'm glad we're back. And of course, spoiler warning for this episode of Superman and Lois. This is season 1, episode 8. So if you haven't seen it yet, then obviously spoilers. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this and start this breakdown. So we start off this episode with Lois actually in therapy, and this is something that shows up a couple different times throughout the episode, and I'll talk about it more later, but it was definitely interesting, to say the least. But again, I'll talk about it more later. So one of the big things of this episode really starts off when Superman goes to interrogate John Henry Irons, or Captain Luthor, the Stranger, whatever you want to call him. This guy, he goes to interrogate him, and he finds out some stuff that we, as the audience, already knew, but these characters did not already know. And I like that they don't really drag out this story, because this was something like The Flash. They drag out this mystery of ooh, who is John Henry Irons? Is he from a different Earth? That would be something dragged out for 6 or 7 episodes. So I like that they're just putting it all out there, and then you're getting all of this conflict between the characters. So I really like seeing that here, because he finds out that not only is John Henry from another Earth, but also that Superman killed his wife, Lois Lane. So obviously, that's a pretty big reveal to Superman, because he's like, wow, I killed Lois, and he was married to her. Oh my God, there's some crazy stuff going on there. So he's dealing with a lot right there, just trying to process all of these bombshells that were just dropped on him, when all of a sudden he's got to go rescue his son, because Jonathan, he's kind of snooping around, I guess you could call it investigating, and he's looking through all the different files and pictures in John Henry's RV. And of course, there's some booby traps in there, so the AI in there actually traps him, and has got these lasers all ready to go, and is about to kill Jonathan, basically. And then it went to a commercial break, and at first I was thinking that, oh, is this going to be where we find out Jonathan actually does have powers? Are they going to shoot the lasers at him and it just bounces off of him? But actually, no, Superman shows up and he saves him. It was a cool scene, but at the same time, it's would have been the perfect spot to reveal his powers. But anyway, Lois gets real mad at him, real mad after this scene at Jonathan, because, it's that whole motherly instinct of, you could have been killed and all that stuff. So, obviously, she's not too happy about this, and this is when we find out these therapy scenes actually all take place after this part, where she yells at Jonathan. So, she's kind of upset at herself for doing that, which is kind of unfortunate, especially because then we get the actual big reveal here that Lois, this is not the first time she's gone to therapy. She went to therapy once or twice years ago when she had her miscarriage. And it's what? That is just an insane reveal right there, because this is Earth 1 Lois Lane that we've been following this whole series. This is not some parallel Earth Lois Lane, although some people were theorizing online that maybe that as the episode was going on, that maybe this could be the Lois Lane from John Henry's Earth. But no, this is prime Earth Lois Lane. She had a miscarriage, and guess what? Just so happened that child that they were going to have was a daughter, and they were going to name her Natalie, which of course is the name of John Henry Irons' daughters. So that was just such a huge reveal, especially because just a couple scenes before this was Lois and Jonathan in the RV looking at all these files, finding out that on this parallel Earth, not only was she married to John Henry Irons, but they had this daughter named Natalie. So that's got to be even harder on her. So she's going through a lot here, and I really thought that these scenes here, and really just this whole episode, you really get to see how good Bitsy Tulloch is in this role as Lois Lane. Like, she's got some great acting skills here, and they're really showed off in these scenes. There's actually some great emotional scenes with other characters in this episode as well, but especially this one, you really get to see the emotions fly. So I did really love seeing that there. That was pretty cool. But also in this episode, we had a story between Kyle and Sarah, because Kyle wants Sarah to try out for the school musical revue. I don't really know what a revue is, but whatever. So because apparently Sarah used to like doing stuff like that, and he thinks she's a great singer and everything. So he's like, all right, I have the day off. I'll get out the guitar and we're gonna do some practice, and then you can go try out later in the afternoon. So that is what they do. They keep doing that, but He actually gets a recording of Sarah singing and wants to go take it to Lana at her work to show her, because it's like, oh, she's going to go be so proud of her and everything. So when he shows up to Lana's office, he's met by Leslie Lar, who is like, oh, I'm so sorry. We're so disappointed that you rejected Mr. Edge's job offer. And Kyle is just super confused by this, because he's like, I was just telling Lana that I would love to have this job, and she said that the job was full and all that stuff. So obviously he's getting a little suspicious now, and we know the reason that she doesn't want him working there is because something fishy's going on there, and they're actually trying to give all these volunteers superpowers, and that's why Morgan Edge wants Kyle in there, because he thinks he's like the perfect subject for that. So he actually goes and confronts Lana, and she's in the middle of work, so it's a pretty tense scene, and she kind of keeps dodging the questions. I feel like things are definitely going to backfire, and things may get worse before they get better. I feel like he's going to go behind her back and go for that job, and things are not going to turn out well here. And I have a feeling something's going to happen to him. I feel like he's going to get the powers. He may die, he may not make it out of this, and that's why they're giving you all these emotional scenes with him and Sarah, because then it's like, oh, you're getting attached to this character, and then boom, he dead. That would be so sad, but yeah. But anyway, after he confronts Lana about this, he goes back home, and he completely forgets about Sarah's musical thing. So he just, because he's already in a mood, he can't really deal with that, so he doesn't show up. So Sarah's panicking, because she's like, I can't do this without my dad here, because he's got to play guitar, so I just won't go on. And this is the nerves getting to her again, as she was talking about before. But Jordan and Jonathan are there to cheer her on, and Jordan actually revealed earlier in the episode that he used to play piano, but then his anxiety got to him and he stopped. So he's like, you know what, I'll go play piano for you so you can sing. And that's what happened. This was another, just such a great moment. You really see just this romance just blossoming between those two. And it's so good. So good. Jordan is such a good guy. He deserves this. And he's gone through a lot. And this was just such a great moment. Although, to be fair, during this scene, didn't really seem like either of them were too nervous, but you can just say that it was like, oh, well, because they were up there together, so they just helped each other, and it was honestly just a great scene. I really did enjoy seeing that. So then after this, at the end of the episode, when Sarah gets home, Kyle tries to apologize to her, and she's just like, don't make it any more promises you can't hold, and he gets real emotional here. He starts to shed some tears, and this was another really emotional scene that was like, wow, you really feel for him. This is a character that when he was introduced in these first couple episodes just seemed like a jerk, but now you're really getting to get deeper into his emotional side, and you really start to feel more bad for him. So I did really like seeing that here. But let's get back to talking about Superman and really the main plot line of this episode, because while he's there interrogating John Henry Irons, there is this DOD soldier, his name is Rossetti, who is actually revealed to be one of Morgan Edge's Kryptonians. So he goes crazy, actually kind of kidnaps John Henry Irons and just goes off. And he actually takes them to Sector 5, which General Samuel Lane reveals that is actually Project 7734, full of kryptonite. But of course, Superman has to make that sacrifice. He goes down there so that he can save the day and everything. And we get this really cool battle in this green kryptonite smoke, where Irons actually ends up killing Rossetti and shows up and actually stabs him. And almost stabs Superman. And honestly, I'm super surprised. I was fully expecting this to be the moment where Superman would have been like, "Save Martha!" And then he would be like, "Don't say that name! That's my mommy's name!" But no, nobody had to mention Martha here, because Lois, she showed up, she saved the day, she convinced him to stop and, not stab Superman. So, that was great there. And then after this, John is actually free in a way. He's not like completely free, but they actually let him go. He drives off in his RV. And it was a really cool moment here, because he says like, "All right, I'll help you with this battle," because he knows about what's going to happen in the future with this battle with Morgan Edge and his Kryptonians. And then he goes into his RV. He changes his profile with the AI from Captain Luthor to now John Henry Irons, and fully embraces that identity and just drives off. So I feel like up until this point, we thought he was going to be the main villain, but I feel like now he is actually going to be an ally, which makes sense, because in the comics, Steel, John Henry Irons is a good guy. He's a hero. So I like to see that maybe in the rest of the season, he's actually going to team up with Superman and help to battle the Kryptonians, which I am super excited to see. But again, guys, this was just another fantastic episode. Of course, let me know all your thoughts on it in the comments below and your theories. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Please drop a like if you enjoyed this video.